asking for a raise for the first time ever, looking for some pointers. Long story, been working IT for a company for about 2.5 years now. Currently working at the same rate they brought me in at. At the time, it was a very competitive salary for what I was doing. However, now with all the extra responsibility I've received, I think it's time that I make quite a bit more. The reason I started thinking about this is because they brought in another IT guy, pretty different from what I do. Think end user support versus asset management, but his pay was significantly higher than mine. Even weirder, I report to this guy's boss, so technically I was higher level than him, but still made the same amount as when I came in. I've received good-sized lump bonuses every year while working here, but never received a permanent wage increase. I've recently moved around business lines, gotten a slight promotion with a hefty amount of responsibility, and have been doing pretty well at it for the better part of a year now. Now I think it's time to schedule a meeting with my boss and discuss a pay raise. I'm getting a solid list of items together, such as my new responsibility, competitive asset management salaries around the area, etc. Just looking for pointers, such as what else should I have prepared other than the general reasons I think I should get a raise. Based on my time with the company and the recent promotion, how much percent increase should I request? And any tips on meeting with my boss? Keep your request simple, direct, and factual. It's easy for management to say the other guy has different qualifications, responsibilities, etc. Tell them why you deserve a raise, cite examples of your performance reviews, levels of responsibility, etc. Do not, under any circumstances, get emotionally invested in this. If your company cannot pay you more now, that may change in 6 months. And if they still say no, you have leverage and say, well, X is willing to pay me this. If they do not match or better their offer, you can always leave for greener pastures. Addition you alluded to, but didn't outright state. Unless you are unionized or are trying to unionize, do not bring up what someone else in the company makes. It isn't going to get you anywhere and management will see it as not relevant. What matters is what you could get working elsewhere. Generally don't bring this up without an offer in hand and what your value is to the company. You can bring it up as market rate is paying X for these roles and responsibilities. My go-to if I'm under market is to cite the Bureau of Labor Statistics in my promotion and or raise request. Link down below. Tends to shut down any chance of the employer arguing monetary value with you. That is, presuming you also have positive performance history at the company to leverage in your favor. Edit. This would be limited to U.S. employers for obvious reasons, and if utilizing this, find the listing that most closely matches what you literally do for the company, not necessarily what matches your internal title, as internal titles and job descriptions are commonly nonsense. This. I have a buddy that makes $50K at his current position, got an offer letter for $85 and showed it to our branch manager today. They counteroffered with $80. That's over a 50% increase because he proved he could make more elsewhere. What I make and what others in our office make have little to do with his salary. My friend did this when he was at 76. He interviewed some places and got competitive offers. HR asked what it would take to keep him and he threw out $115K and they took it. I'm not sure what he was offered, but it worked out for him. Stupid money in bigger cities. A little off topic, but what if the management brings up what someone else makes? This happened at my old job where everyone was grossly underpaid as an excuse to not raise my wages. Yes, I know the obvious answer was to leave for greener pastures, but I was wondering if there was something I could have said then. You say, I'm not interested in what they make. I'm looking to be valued fairly for my skills and the experience that I bring to this role. When I look at the market rate, it shows that I am undervalued for the level that I am performing at. You might want to start applying elsewhere in case they say no. It helps to have another offer in hand before you ask, but it sounds like you might have a solid enough case without needing the other offer. This 1000%. I've gone through 3 salary/raise negotiations with 3 different companies in the last 3 years. In each case, I had a competitive offer before scheduling the meeting with my boss. To OP, what helped me was this. Be sure of what you feel you are worth. Have your talking points nailed down before you go, and have evidence. Quote, I have X amount of extra responsibility and therefore deserve X amount of money. Unquote. Be sure to not be aggressive or defensive. Instead, be calm and assertive. You have to project confidence. Lay out your case and then sit back and let them counter. Try not to speak too much or ramble on, and if they don't offer you what you think they're worth, only tell them about another offer after they've made it clear that they won't budge. This could mean telling the other company you like their offer but don't want to leave your current company without finishing what's in your plate at the moment. You don't want them to think that you're okay with burning bridges, and this makes you look like a more responsible employee. 2 weeks is the given standard, but I've negotiated for more than a month before. But once you mention the other offer, be ready to take it that day. Have a little cash saved up in case they cut you that day and the new company can't take you until the agreed upon time frame. Good luck and let us know how it goes. I had a CIO tell me he never matches. If you're unhappy enough to go job searching, more money does nothing to make you happier in the long run. Having said that, I had an offer for 20 to 25% more money and took it to my boss and said that I really wanted to stay with the company, but due to some health reasons, I needed to get my wife home and needed more to get on one salary. He gave me 15%, but the above mentioned CIO held that over me for 2 or 3 years before passively firing me, making it so bad that I had to get a different job. Be careful with this. Many managers won't match an offer. Make sure you're okay with actually leaving. I've personally never had anyone stay longer than a year after accepting a counteroffer, so I usually don't offer one. If they're out interviewing, then I feel I've already lost them. Sometimes the money is the excuse they're telling themselves, but there's also a cultural mismatch or some other reason they're not actually happy. Like their commute is an hour long, and they accepted the raise for now, but they're still trying to find a position closer to home. I took a $5,000 pay cut to quit a job just to get away from a boss that was a bad fit. The stress reduction alone was worth it. The new place liked me well enough, so within a year I was back up to my old pay. That's exactly it. If it isn't right, then it's probably better for both sides. And even if they weren't unhappy to start, by the time they hit the market, they are probably too jaded to recover. Why would they stay? You've already proven that you won't raise their pay without a gun to your head. If I had to go job hunting just to get a raise, I'd be accepting positions instead of staying too. That's what happened with me. I got a job offer making $20K a year more, then requested a raise. The company I was working for didn't even try to counter. They just said goodbye. You took a promotion a year ago with no pay bump? At least now you should be able to speak to the amount of extra work you've been doing without increased compensation and how well you've been doing it. But the most natural time to address a raise would have been when they gave you a new role. See, that's the thing. It was never really an official position move. I mostly just switched bosses after my current boss was promoted to another role. After I got the new boss, I very slowly started receiving more and more work on top of my current duties. On top of that, my boss that was promoted also left the office, so I've started helping support an office with half the help as before. Honestly, you should edit your post out then. While that feels like a promotion is not the right word. Seems particular on my part, but the word promotion implies a meeting with management in which they specifically give you a new title and almost always a pay raise. What you've described is the willingness to take on new responsibilities. That is a good thing that should lead to a raise, but not something that feels like they are more obligated to give you a raise. I took a title promotion, elevated position, more responsibility, more leeway, no more pay at the time. Management took advantage of my youthful eagerness, but definitely worked out in the end. It's a real thing. List your responsibilities, and then all the ones added after. Highlight the difference in growth. List your accomplishments and demonstrated success. Do your research and find out the average salary for your position. There are plenty of calculators online where you input info like country, city, years in the industry, company size, amount of subordinates, etc. And they let you know the average salary. Note this information down. Decide on a percentage/amount of salary increase you'd like to have. Then add at least 5% more so you have negotiation leverage. Don't go for an even number like 60K or 10%. Instead, ask for an uneven number that you can still reason to them. Even numbers sound like you didn't put thought to it, whereas more odd numbers will make it seem more like you actually did your math, put the time in, and are determined to get what you want. Print out a doc with all this information and take it with you to the negotiation to ensure you won't forget anything. Provide a copy of the doc to your boss as well in the meeting. Follow this structure in your pitch. 1. Let them know you'd like a raise. 2. Demonstrate with your list why it's justified. 3. Express how much you'd like to have. 4. Give them space to think and talk. 5. Follow up in case the decision can't be made directly in the meeting. Send your request with the prepared doc attached. Agree on a schedule to move forward. And last tip, never get emotional. Never apologize. Don't feel bad asking for a raise, and stick to highlighting your performance. Increased level of experience and accomplishments as justification for the raise. No personal reasons. Been in IT for 20 plus years and gone from woefully underpaid to decent wages. The only time I ever got raises was job hopping. In the last 13 years, my pay has quadrupled. In fact, one job a couple years ago I was hired in and made more than my manager the entire time and more than the director when hired. Hopefully this isn't the case, but in my experience you learn skills and then get a new company to pay for them. Current employers have never value-added skills for me. Not sure how large your org is, but it's been my experience working as a non-technical resource in an IT shop at a large corporation that the only way to see a larger than 5% increase in pay is to either have management specifically make a new position for you in a higher wage band, super rare, apply for a higher position within the org, or leave the org and get a disloyalty bonus linked below. We had a person in our office who left a company that would not give her a requested raise. She came here, got a 10K raise for this job, and stayed for a year. She left us and returned to her old company at a new position for another 10K pay bump. They didn't realize how much they valued her institutional knowledge until it was gone. She leveraged their mistake into a 50% pay bump in about a year, 40K to 60K. We can't offer a suggestion on percentage without knowing your current salary because it is relative. Are you making 25K? Then maybe a 100% raise is reasonable. Are you making 50K? Then maybe a 10% raise is reasonable. Maybe a 10% raise is reasonable, but you're a rock star and 20% is a good investment. Sorry, I'm always just a little nervous to give out salary amounts by practice. It is between 50 to 60 currently. I was really hoping for a 10% at the minimum, but 20% seemed like a dream. Is that even possible? You shouldn't be nervous to discuss salary. This is what companies prefer, but it's nearly always better for us all to discuss our salaries. Exactly this. The only party to gain from you not discussing it is your company. It is on your and your coworkers' interest to discuss what everyone else is making. It gives you a good idea if you're being underpaid, and then you can try to negotiate for higher pay. Don't base your target salary on your current salary. Base it on the market for your skills and experience. You don't place an offer on a house based on what the previous sale price is. You use comps. Find a good comp. When you go looking for similar jobs, what type of salary do they command? You can also use Glassdoor or LinkedIn to find salary information. To a company, it should not matter that you asked for a 20 to 40% raise if that's what they need to spend to replace you, or if that's what you can get somewhere else. Just make sure you have a written offer and don't show them the document, but be ready to accept it if your current job decides not to fairly compensate you. Best of luck. Then isn't a negotiation, that's a pittance. Let's say you make $55K. A 10% raise is $5,500 total. That works out to $105.77 a week, and if you work only 40 hours per week, that is a raise of $2.64 an hour. This is not 1990 where that would be a substantial increase. After taxes, if you're in the US, it's more like a raise of $1.98 per hour. If you work more than 40 hours per week, then we're not even talking pocket change. Discuss from your hourly pay rate, as most people cannot do the conversion in their head. Start at requesting an $8 an hour pay increase, roughly 30%, due to the increasing demands of your job. Negotiate based on your value to the company and the competitive salary range of your skills, not on so is new and getting what I get. That's not relevant. In fact, as an employer, if that's the main argument, it is an automatic no-go from me. Remember, it is not illegal or punishable to talk about anyone's salary in the workplace. In fact, it is suggested to share what you make with just about anyone. Companies regularly repress this and often shame the practice, but it's the only way to level the wage gap. Companies love to keep people's salaries and wages secret so they can pay what they want, usually the lowest you will take. Check out Adam Ruins Everything episode about it, link below. Minor suggestion, when you schedule a meeting, I would want to have a salary review or compensation discussion. It could be just me, but saying meeting because I want/deserve a raise can put people on the defensive. I like to soft pedal it just a bit. Salary review opens the discussion for what you do and what you are paid, so you can point out a mismatch if appropriate. Larger discussion than just asking for more money directly, although it should lead to the same end with perhaps a lower risk of hostility. I wouldn't even mention salary or compensation. My preferred go-to is future planning and/or level setting. It helps frame the discussion that you are invested in the future, both yours and the company's. In addition, level setting really helps get it on the table, all of the roles and responsibilities that you are currently performing, and if you can demonstrate an understanding of the larger picture of what is going on in your organization, you can show that you are much more valuable than just coasting through your tasks. Compliment sandwich. Say what you like about your job, boss, situation. Outline the problem. In this case, you need better compensation and why. Reiterate why you want to stay as opposed to simply leaving for more money. Lean back and whisper. This creates the dominant physical position. Change the location of the meeting. Totally throws them off. Refuse to speak first. Makes them uncomfortable and puts you in control. Many companies are pushing towards bonuses over raises. It doesn't stick them with having to pay you more if they have a bad year. Not saying it's fair or good, just that it is happening more. As far as the request, before you go in, do some light job hunting and networking. Figure out what someone with your experience could get paid if you walk. This is the floor of what you should be okay with making. If they pay you less, you probably should start applying elsewhere. It's not enough to feel like you should make more. You need to show your company that you are worth the money to them. Consistent, positive reviews, taking on additional workloads, any instances where work you have done or ideas you've had have saved money are useful. Know that HR or company culture can sometimes tie a company's hands in regards to large salary increases. If the money you are making is okay, but you just think you deserve more, consider alternatives to straight salary increases. Maybe you want an advanced degree. Could they contribute to your tuition and give you flex time to take classes? Are there additional certifications or industry events you want to go to? Are there projects that would look really good on your resume that are more interesting to you that you might be moved to? Could you be trained up into a higher paying job? Can you take on managerial or training functions? At 2.5 years, you can take the soft approach of asking, instead of for a raise, for what you need to do over the next 6 months to get one, and to request a follow-up meeting in 3 months to make sure you're on track. If you do this approach, you cannot afford to mess up, but it makes it hard for them to say no. Quick side story. A friend of mine worked at a company for 4 years. Around tax time, some coworkers were complaining about the increased tax burden of some new policy in the state. He was confused as to why they cared. You'd have to be making 50% more than him for it to matter, and they all did exactly the same work. Yep, he'd left a severely underpaid temp agency to take a job as an underpaid full-time employee, and it wasn't until then he realized exactly how underpaid he was. That night he had a 5-minute conversation with the boss who said, "I was wondering when you were going to ask," and he got a 30% raise and moved to a project he enjoyed more. My friend is still salty about it and left a year later. Moral of the story, you probably should know what your industry rate is. I've been your narrator, John Loverich, and I hope you enjoyed these personal finance tips. If this video inspired you, like it now, and if you'd like to see more in the future, click the subscribe button.